But what I think they should do, instead of the college football playoff, I think all the Power Four jobs that end up opening up, which looks like it could be 12, I think they should play a playoff. Winner gets Lane Kiffin. All right, Have Good Sporting, episode 57. It's actually episode 57 this time. I thought it was episode 57 last week, but it was episode 56. And last week I did say we started this show on episode 47. I figured you're nervous for the first few episodes, so if you don't want to be nervous, just don't start on episode 1. And last week I said I thought it was episode 57. And I said, hey, if you start on episode 47, that would make episode 57 your 10th show. And I claim to be a math guy, and I apologize because episode 57 would actually be your 11th episode. Now, technically, last week was our 10th episode, but it was episode 56. Today is actually episode 57. Episode 57, gonna be a good one. I worked on getting the creative juices flowing, and I think I got something here. We're gonna break down the college football playoff rankings from last night. We're going to get into some coaching carousel talks, and I'm going to propose a second college football playoff, a better college football playoff that involves teams without coaches. Okay, starting with the college football playoff rankings from last night, in order, teams 1 through 12, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas, Oklahoma. Now, no ACC team in the top 12, no group of 5 team or no mid-major team in the top 12. So, 11 and 12, Texas and Oklahoma projected to slide out, Memphis sliding in as that mid-major team, Virginia sliding in as that projected ACC champion. Now, I have no issues with the 1 through 8 here. I have no issues even with the 1 through 9 here. Notre Dame, I don't think they should be this high up quite yet. It was inevitable that after starting 0-2, Notre Dame was probably going to win out, and if they win out, they're going to be in the playoff. I just think I give it a few more weeks until they show up in there. Let some teams fall in front of them so that they really earned it. You put them at 9, now it's almost like, what if they go win-win-loss or loss-win-win? 9 and 3, Notre Dame we can't have in the playoff. That's just foolish. If you're not going to play in a power conference, if you're going to play whatever schedule you want, then win the games that you choose to play. We're not putting 9 and 3 Notre Dame in the playoff. However, I do think they're one of the 12 best teams. So if that's what you're doing, then let that be your argument. But we're going to get started here. Top 2 teams in the playoff, Ohio State and Indiana, the 2 teams that look to be just dominating. Ohio State looks unstoppable. Julian Sain is the most efficient college football quarterback we've ever seen statistically, and it helps when you're throwing to Jeremiah Smith, who might be the best wide receiver ever. And it helps when your second guy, Carnell Tate, would be the best wide receiver in college football if Jeremiah Smith didn't exist. So the offense is ridiculously talented, and the defense might be better. This is an Ohio State team that's kind of flying under the radar because watching their games is not even an enjoyable thing, right? We question Ohio State when they're up 21-7 at halftime. We're like, what happened to this team? They stink now. But they win, they cover the spread. Julian Sain is completing passes at an 80% mark. It's ridiculous what Ohio State's doing. I don't even want to talk about them. They're going to be number 1, and they're going to win the playoff until someone performs a miracle and beats them. Second, Indiana, another team that I still don't, I think there's worlds between Ohio State and everyone else, but Indiana also just dominating, completely taking care of business. Really, I think Ohio State is unstoppable, and then I think Indiana, I do think teams can beat them, but they just handle business. They handle business. They bring their briefcases to the stadium, set them down in the locker room, strap up their helmets, and they go to war and they win big. Then 3 through 6, all SEC teams, Texas A&M, okay, Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss. The teams 3 through 6. Ole Miss only has 3 games left. One of them is against the Citadel. Georgia, Alabama, and Texas A&M have 4. Those teams respectively play Charlotte, Eastern Illinois, and Samford. Great. So Texas A&M's 8-0, might as well be 9-0. Alabama 7-1, might as well be 8-1. Georgia, same thing, might as well be 8-1. I don't really enjoy that. I think just put them at the front end of the schedule so the back half of the year is fun every week. It's like the second to last week of the year, horrendous. No SEC teams play good teams. It's bothersome, really. And it annoys me. But we get into 7 and 8 here in the playoff. BYU and Texas Tech. This is the matchup of the week this week because they're playing each other. BYU plays Texas Tech. BYU undefeated. Texas Tech 8-1. Texas Tech favored by 10. Wow. Now that begs the question. Texas Tech clearly going to move up in front of BYU, potentially moving up in front of one of these SEC teams if they fall. But then you have an 8-1 BYU and a 9-1 Texas Tech. The Big 12, if they get 2 teams in, would be those 2 teams. But what if BYU just gets like beat by a lot by Texas Tech? Then you got to figure out what to do with the Big 12, right? That's a concern. Oregon, I think they're still one of the best teams in the nation. It's just that the one time the world was watching against Indiana, they lost. And then the world hasn't really watched since then, and they've been just slowly climbing back. But I think they're going to be just, they're going to be somewhere between 6 and 9 in this playoff, and they're going to win 1 or 2 games in the playoff, if not make a run to the Final Four of the championship. I think Oregon's still really good. I think if they win out, they're going to be a tough out. Doesn't matter if it's Ohio State or Indiana or A&M or Alabama. Oregon's going to be a tough out. We talked about Notre Dame. Then we talked about Texas and Oklahoma. Both of these teams projected to be out of the playoff because of you have to have Memphis and Virginia in because of the rules. But Texas plays Georgia, Arkansas, and A&M. Oklahoma plays Bama, Mizzou, and LSU. I think they both take a loss down the stretch, and they're definitely out. Then that begs the question, does that mean, well, Georgia Tech would have to beat Georgia, but what if a Georgia Tech slides in, the ACC gets 2 teams in, right? Um, Notre Dame, well, no, Notre Dame's in. I'm looking at their schedules right here. I got it all written down. Yeah, Ohio State and Indiana are in the playoff. Texas A&M is in the playoff. Alabama's these SEC teams that have one garbage team left on their schedule, they're all getting to at least, you know, 10 wins, 11 wins, even a 9-3 with a good strength of schedule for the SEC could get in. So it's just this back half that's interesting to me. Do you get 2 ACC teams in? Could 2 Group of 5 teams sneak in? That would be interesting. But whatever. It's the playoff. We all saw it. I'm not going too in depth here. Just wanted to give my thoughts on it and complain that all these SEC teams play Charlotte, Citadel, Eastern Illinois, and Samford in November. That's awful, dude. That's so awful. All right. Going to get into some coaching carousel talks here. One of my favorite topics because my team's involved in it. These are all the teams that stink. LSU, Florida, Auburn, Penn State, Arkansas, Oklahoma State, UCLA, Virginia Tech, Stanford, all looking for new coaches. FSU, Kentucky, Wisconsin, all teams I think could open up here soon. candidates that have been thrown around. Lane Kiffin, obviously. James Franklin gonna get another job. John Sumrall, Tulane, right there next to Baton Rouge. Is he getting a call from LSU? Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, Rhett Lashley at SMU, Marcus Freeman probably staying, but he will be fielding some calls. Will Stein, Oregon offensive coordinator. He's a candidate for one of these smaller jobs. I don't think any of these SEC teams would take him. And then you got, NFL coordinators like Zach Robinson, offensive coordinator for the Falcons. His alma mater's Oklahoma State. Is he getting a call from Oklahoma State? I'm sure Falcons fans would be plenty happy if he took that job. And I'm going to offer up a proposal, a new college football playoff, because one of the biggest questions I had is what's more entertaining? The college football playoff with the 12 best teams, but Ohio State's going to win. And you only get it from December 20th until, January 17th or 18th or whatever that Monday is. Is that more enjoyable if you're just, as a Florida fan, I am getting more entertainment from the chaos of social media, all these teams or all these fans whose teams are looking for a head coach. That's my entertainment right now because people are losing their minds. It's hilarious. That is more entertaining to me right now than looking forward to the playoff is. Now, once the playoff comes around, it'll be fun. And this is really all tongue in cheek a little bit. But what I think they should do, instead of the college football playoff, I think all the Power Four jobs that end up opening up, which looks like it could be 12, I think they should play a playoff. Winner gets Lane Kiffin. And then, like, the runner up gets whoever they want. Basically, you do a pecking order. You play for the order, and then you have 12 candidates, and it's a draft of who you get as your coach. That's full-proof. Because then it's like, hey, if you think you're the best job, you got to go prove it on the field. And then you can decide what coach you want. But like if you're Auburn or LSU or Florida or Penn State and you think you have the best job, well, go beat a coachless LSU. Go beat a coachless Penn State. Go beat a coachless Florida. And then go grab Lane Kiffin because you won and you deserve it. I think that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, what else do I got? I always talk about Florida and Lane Kiffin, but I think it's destiny. And I think if he leaves Ole Miss, he's not leaving Ole Miss for LSU. I think he would leave Ole Miss for Florida. And I say that unbiasedly. I do think that is the truth. John Sumrall, I think that name's going to pick up steam in Louisiana because, like, Orgeron won a title there. And he wasn't like this insane offensive mind, defensive mind, didn't bring a program to prominence before LSU. He was a great coach, fantastic coach, don't get me wrong. But I think him just knowing Louisiana, that is a culture-heavy program. Like the kids there want a Louisianian coach. They don't want Brian Kelly. So I think John Summerall's going to pick up some steam there. Brent Key. Oh, Jeff Brom I left off this list. Whoever gets Jeff Brom, if you can get him to leave Louisville, that's a call LSU, Auburn, and Penn State should make. I think Jeff Brom would be like the Mike Elko of this cycle. And I stole that from someone. I did steal that from someone. But it makes sense. It's a guy that wins these big games somehow. His team's consistently there despite not being like thought of as upper echelon ACC talent or in the pecking order of the ACC. Louisville is not considered to be up there in football, but they somehow always are. And he wins football games. I think Rhett Lashley is the Billy Napier this cycle. I just personally wouldn't be excited if that's the route one of these teams went. James Franklin gonna get perhaps his Virginia Tech job. That's picking up a lot of steam. I think that's a great spot. I think both parties there would be very happy. Brent Key, really like Brent Key. He's a gritty. I think he'd be good at Auburn. I think he'd be good at Auburn. Drinkwitz, the best job for Eli Drinkwitz is where he's at right now. I don't know if he leaves. I don't know if Penn State's a great match. But then like LSU probably doesn't go that far down for Drinkwitz because I think he's probably not as high up on the pecking order. Um, Florida, I actually think he would do good at Florida, do well at Florida. But I don't know. I don't know. It's gonna be fun. We'll see how my uh fired coaches playoff or teams with coachlet. Okay, teams without coaches. They're gonna play in this playoff that I just created, and then winner gets their pick of the litter. I think that would be so fun. That would get more people would watch that than Ohio State, Virginia in the first round. Like, come on. Really? Shrink the playoff too. All right, we got 15 minutes in. I just had to do one this week. It's been a slow news week because everyone's already got fired and the market is saturated with coaching carousel news. I'm a little bit late to the playoff stuff too. Feels like if you're 2 hours late, you're not gonna get the hits, right? But we'll be back. Uh, have good sporting, episode 57. Thank you for watching. I think I'll clip some of this up and throw it on as shorts on the YouTube. Those always do fairly well. Um, but I use the free version of the thing that makes the clips, and I don't know if I have enough credit left for this month. So we'll see. We'll see. It's a budget show. It's a budget show, and I'm a company man. All right. Have good sporting, episode 57. Notebook down. Show's over. Enjoy yourselves. Today is Wednesday. It's hump day. Enjoy it. Enjoy. Have a good Wednesday. Eat a good dinner. Go to the gym. Whatever, dude. I don't care what you do. Love you. Bye.